Fancy intro music, yeah! Woo! Hey there, Star Trek Fleet Command fans. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a wonderful holiday season. As of the time of me releasing this, tomorrow is Thanksgiving. And I actually have something special planned for tomorrow's video. But today, we're going to continue on this territory capture theme because I know it's annoyed some people enjoy it, but it is the main arc in the current manga that is the anime of our lives. Random references. Also, shout out Doodle Bob, because I think he's the actual dev of this game. It's Doodle Bob. He did it. Blame Doodle Bob. So what we'll talk about today are strategies for the PvP that is the craziness of territory capture. Now, a couple points real quick. One, I'm not here to debate about how whales overwhelm and all their friends control territory capture. If that's the case, that ignore, look, I can't control that. That's not a factor or a variable that we have control over. Two, I can't help the lag. I can't control that either. So ignoring lag, ignoring whales. What I want to give you are PvP strategies for winning and trying to maintain territory for as long as possible to get as many points as possible, also to lure in and win as many fights as you can for your level. So let's talk about different ones and different strategies. First one, I'll just say if you're a big bad whale player, just make sure you got your big Enterprise cruise loaded out, or a Kelvin or a Newton, Valdor, whatever you're using, Katinga. Honestly, you get to some of these ships that big where the only competition you have is each other. At least on my server, like I know a lot of people are going to see this Enterprise at right around 4 million and go, well, man, you're just so much stronger than everybody. Not really. Like I'm not even the top 100 on my server. So loading out the Enterprise correctly for me matters. This is the equivalent of like server 32 properly loading out their Saladins. That's how I properly load out my Enterprise, just to have a chance of winning some of these fights. And that's going to be our brawler. So the number one thing I would say keep in mind when loading out ships is the speed of these ships for PvP. And that really does matter. Explorers are the second fastest, interceptors are the fastest, and battleships are slow lumbering behemoths. So for example, if you're a team that's doing the defense of a territory, you want to sit battleships on the capture nodes. That's my recommendation. You want to have ships that fly around fast and can move around and keep points going. But for the most points, battleships, because they're slow lumbering behemoths that honestly, just be real, if you're chasing somebody, you're probably going to get whacked by a Gladius or something. If you're in an Augur, or if you're in a Kumara, you're going to get hit by a maxed out Kira, which there are Kira truthers out there and Kira lovers, which I think is great. Either way, battleships are not the best for PvP. They're basically, think about it from a tactician standpoint. A battleship is going to sit not in the front screen. They're going to sit in the secondary or the third layer, and they're going to fire from afar. And that's kind of the idea here. We're going to sit them on the nodes, and then we're going to load them out. Depending on the ship, we're going to load them out to defend that territory. So I've actually got a very unique crew setup here. I'm running Carol Marcus, Mitchell, and then the little cybernetic officer that I'm blanking on the name. Cybernetic tactician is the ability, though. The reason I chose this is when defending a capture node, Arium has a 60% chance of burning the opponent for this round at the start of each round. But I just chose it because it's burning, and I also wanted to use cards that are a little bit easier to get. Optimally, you'd have Giorgio. There's Arium. You could use Nero. Giorgio better. Can use this one as well if you want to start burning. Remember, burning does a couple things. One, it provides a background 1% damage at all times. That burning is active to your opponent's hull. And then secondary for the Augur, it's for the obliterate weapon. As I'm saying, though, very clearly, that's not the optimal. I just put in there for people who don't have all the cards. But if you want to have the correct, you want Giorgio there. Now, as far as Carol Marcus, is for the applied science, which currently, when defeating in a battle against a player, decreases the weapon damage from opponents by 50%. Basically, we're running a trap setup. It's not amazing, 50% decrease, but it does have an effect and can help with your survivability. And then I've got, the secondary abilities, which is increasing the weapons damage by 25%. And then you've got this one from Mitchell when getting hit by a critical. So this is if you got those like critical builds coming after you. And a lot of Enterprises use critical builds now with Gorkon Khan. You've got a lot of Saladins, obviously. The Gladius will get still set up with criticals. But when you get hit by a critical hit, you're going to do a decrease of 40% for one round. So continuing to go on the decreasing damage. Basically, we're just trying to survive as long as possible. We want multiple hits. We want to lure people in, hit them multiple times, and win. But it depends on what you're fighting. So you can run this a couple different ways. For example, if you're in a, let's just say that you're in a legionary. Legionary is like the baby form of the augur. You could have Carol here, and as a legionary, your biggest fear is what? Saladins. D3s, but mostly Saladins. Well, if you're fearing that, then you want to have Carol. Then if you've got Merrick and Krell, the anti-fed officers at a high level, you'd want to run those. And I'll just to point those out so you know exactly who they are and what they look like. Let's get Merrick and Krell. So here's Krell. Federation contacts against Federation by 175. You see, I don't have mine promoted up high enough. I'd get it at least to rank 5 if I could. But 175 would work, honestly, because they stack. Merrick and Krell work together. You see another 175 got both at rank 4. So that would honestly not be terrible to have both on there if I was facing Saladins. So if I have Carol as captain, then Merrick, Krell, Saladins are not going to do, they're going to have a tough time. They're going to have a really tough time beating me with that. So what you'll do with your battleships is focus on defense, 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 and holding nodes. Then you want to have at least one ship, and this can be several different things. If you've done your research, maybe it could be your discovery. I'm hit or miss on using the discovery here. I love the discovery if you're the attacking team for the quick warp in feature. Get your discovery in there, then warp everybody in. But if I'm running the discovery, I'm running it with as much of a speed loadout as I can. Now I'm currently running with Claw, but you can also use the Pan, Navi, self hull breaching crew for the speed boost. There's several different speed groups you can use. If you're using the discovery, load it out for speed and warping people in, because here's what you want. This is what I'm using mine for. Is I'm doing this loadout simply for the impulse speed. All I want here is to run the edge. I basically want to be a rim runner. Take that how you will, Star Trek Fleet Command players. I want to be a rim runner here with the Vidar. Basically, I just want to be focused on outrunning everybody, outmaneuvering everybody, and then riding the rim of the map and jumping in between. The longer it can stay alive, the more points I'm going to score. And then finally, you want 2 DPS boats. The key, though, is managing all 4 at once. I've set this up to where you're only managing 3 of them, because the battleship's going to sit there, it'll live, it'll die, it'll do whatever. But you have 1 speedboat, 2 DPS boats, and then a home defense boat. Now, if you can get your entire alliance to coordinate these together, you could actually do a lot of different things. And that's one thing that I feel like a lot of Star Trek teams haven't done yet. My Server 43 Alliance End, Tenchi has been taking lead on a lot of these strategies, and we're having a lot of success because we're working as a team. And working as a team now benefits you in terms of, instead of me working independently with 3 ships, we have coordinated squads that do certain tactics. For example, little speed rush squads to keep alive and to distract with Rialtas and Vidars, using discoveries to warp those in. We have DPS squads for going out and killing certain objects that might need to be taken out first. Things like that. But if you're running solo in these territory captures, you want to have 2 DPS, a speed, and then a home defense boat. And right now I've got the Gladius, but this could be your Saladin with a critical loadout. I would say, optimal. People ask me all the time, like, what do I run on my Saladin? If you've got it, you run around Gorkon, Kurla, Harrison, because if you hit everything in round 1, you're obliterating epic ships. Like, even a small epic will fall to that loadout. A lot of this depends on what you have, but loading out optimally for PvP, focusing on speed, at least on 1 ship, so that you can maintain in the zone. Because that's another thing, is you leave and this happens. You don't get to see what's happening. Remember, this works on the same dark space, deep space principle where you cannot see inside of this unless you're here. And that's exactly how it works over in these spaces as well, where I have to go and do missions at these times in Yareva and Ashtor, and I have to go to these places for missions, but I can't actually see them. I have to just warp to them and then find out what's there when I get there. And that's another point of the speedboat, is staying alive so that you can maintain eyes what's going on grid, and then bring more ships into the fold and into the PvP fight. And then the last thing is just managing the crews correctly. If you're going to build a trap crew, is what I call it. You're just setting a trap for somebody to come and jump on you. You want to build something like this. We're using Carol, Mitchell, and then having that burning in there as well to provide a little bit of extra damage in the background. Several different ways you can build trap boats. The Obliterator weapon and Augur make a great trap setup. But you can run that with the Kamar, you can run it with the Legionary, you can run it with the Bortus, the Intrepid. Any battleship will do, because you've got all that hull strength, plus now you've got a little bit of decreasing their weapons, or in the case of using faction officers, like I said, I feel like I'm finally getting to the point where I can use my faction officers very regularly. I wish these were more common when I was a low level. I wasn't getting these as a low level. The increasing your damage versus those ship types, also very useful, man. If I'm running that trap setup and an Enterprise hits me and I've got Mirror Krell, that Enterprise has no chance at all. So anyway, just some thoughts about how to take territory capture to the next level for your PvP group. Hope you enjoyed it. If you have ideas that you think are good, drop them down in the comment section below. Be more than happy to share those with everybody that are watching the channel. Live long and prosper. Stay safe with the Space Cowboys, and we'll catch you on the next video, Star Trek Fleet Command. Actually, we'll catch you tomorrow for a special video. An even better outro than the intro. Yeah!